Because we're aligned we're partners in purpose, but we're not necessarily so intertwined that we're like connected at the hip. We're both quite independent, but we're very much partners at the same time. It's like we've discovered the ability to create ourselves as anything we want to be. That's a big deal in state. I think the second thing is to say yes to your own greatness. And that's
So you also have talked about geniuses being born as ADHD or autistic kids. And
their brains are wired differently than us, and hallelujah. And I think that some of the things that come along with that is a kind of calmness in oneself, and most definitely what I call super genius flow. I mean, books just pour through me. I've written 20 books now, and that takes me maybe a couple of weeks to write one now. And then we kind of become transcendent alchemists, is the term I use. We gain more natural superpowers. We become a little bit more miraculous in our. So she creates a petri dish of water, and she asks a question, and then she freezes the water, and the ice forms the answer. And you gotta realize when you get that story, just blew my mind. I was like, wow. Like, that's incredible. Water is intelligent.
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. And we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. There is a story actually of Michael Jackson. It's a funny story. He called his producer or manager at 3 a.m. in the morning. And welcome, Soleira, to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. It's so lovely to have you here back again. So Soleira Green is a quantum coach from UK, and she's my first guest on this talk show, so very special for me. And it's absolutely a privilege to have you back here, Soleira.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Last time we had discussed about, and I'm going to put that link over here. So for those who have not watched the last episode, I'm going to put the link here. We had discussed about higher self embodying in this vessel, in this physical vessel. And that is happening more so for a lot of us in the ascension. And you have talked greatly about connecting with the source directly and your higher and highest self, and embodying that here and channelizing our highest expression here. So can you talk a little bit about how we can embody that higher self? Because I do remember that you had talked about the concept of soul walking that you and your husband do, but it's not the soul walking in a traditional sense, but it is a different level of energy kind of bringing in here. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I might use slightly different terminology, but I'll kind of explain it as I go. So I think that the quantum evolution of beingness that's happening right now, so it used to be like, we had our inner part, which some people call the soul, and we had our outer part, which a higher self, the greater being. And that was kind of separate, and this was kind of closed up at one point for most people. Some people were born open to it, and what's happened is the inner has opened up. So I call it the deep alchemical core. So it's like it's that part of us which has the ability to work alchemically or transcendently, and definitely energetically in some way. And the greater being has embodied. And so what you get is this flow state now of being who you really are. So from the inner, it's more the natural essence of you is coming out as more authentic and real and genuine and passionately expressed. And the greater being embodied allows us to be more knowing. I would use the term knowing. It's beyond intuition. Intuition being a kind of gut feel, but it like things that you wouldn't have any capacity to necessarily know, and you've integrated a kind of what some might call a wisdom of yourself or greater learning over greater time in yourself. So then I think what's happened since that is that, let's say, source, creator, divine, infinite, whatever you want to call, universe, whatever people want to call it, has come present. When the group work I've been working with, we're definitely bringing it present and embodying that and putting it into everything, into nature, into the earth, into the oceans, into the animals, into us, so there's a source presence in us. So I think what happens with the greater being, it eventually merges with this kind of source or creator or divine presence in us. And then we kind of become transcendent alchemists, is the term I use for it. so we gain more natural superpowers. We become a little bit more miraculous in our way of working. We have a greater understanding of things as they're unfolding. And we have a capacity to source realities, to bring the new through into the world and to connect and to, you use the word channel. So communicate with the universe, with animals. You've got Veda Austin, who's now doing the work with water, where water is communicating with her and showing up as having intelligence. And there's all these kind of things that it's changing for us as we become I would say a new kind of beingness, which I might call a source being. But, it could be called by many, many names. I'm not attached to names at all. It's just more the expression of it, I think, the feel of it, the expression of it, and the capacity of it is changing all the time. Because in that state, we're really ultra connected with everything. So there's, as a normal human being, there's a lot of separation. So, we tend to be very individual, or families, close people, and then feel quite separate from the rest of life, except for, of course, people who love animals and nature and, all that kind of thing. But this lets you be in a kind of connected state in a constant, livable, practical way. And that kind of changes the dynamics of everything when you live in a naturally connected state with all life. So that's my that's my view of it.
Yeah, beautiful. So what I understand is that you bring a different aspect of your own self, of your own higher self, into this body when you are bringing more and more of your higher self. And that was the guidance that even I had in the beginning of the year, and I talk a lot about twin flames also, because I have been on twin flame journey, and twin flames are one soul split into two bodies, or two souls of exact core soul frequency, or the exact same essence. But now I have received a guidance that divine counterparts are coming online who are different from twin flames.
Yes.
And they are your vibrational match. an energetic match. They don't have to be the same soul. So, from your experience, because you had a long relationship, a long marriage, I would say, and a beautiful relationship with your husband, and you both are embodying more of your higher selves. So,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about this divine counterpart aspect?
Yeah, that's a nice term for it, actually, because I don't know that we ever knew each other before. It doesn't seem like that. And yet we were purposefully drawn and magically drawn together. And we've been together for 29 years now. And I would say it's really interesting because I think I am more because he's present. Maybe he is more because I'm present. And because often we don't necessarily always talk about what's happening. Like we're very independent and both very purposeful and writing books and doing things. And sometimes we'll get together or we'll be on a call and he'll say something and we'll be like, you know that too. Because we're aligned we're partners in purpose. But we're not necessarily so intertwined that we're like connected at the hip. We're both quite independent, but we're very much partners at the same time. And I think what happened with us was in both of our cases, we didn't just do a single shift of ourselves or a single becoming. We've probably done 20, 30, 40, maybe even 100 each. It's like we've discovered the ability to create ourselves as anything we want to be. That's a big deal. Because as a human being, you're taught you have DNA, you have genetics, you have ancestors, you have culture, you have heritage, you have learning, you have issues, you have background, you have family. This is who you are, right? Like it's a set kind of thing. And everyone hopes to become better at who they are and more fulfilled and, more of their potential fulfilled. But what Centauri and I discovered is that we could become anything we wanted to become at any moment in time. like I'd say, oh, I think I'd like more magic. Oh, maybe I'll just bring some Merlin-esque energy in. Or, oh, I'd like to be more universal. Okay, I'll create a partnership with the universe. I'll stand as the universe. I'll bring that part of myself in. Do you see what I mean? So we started to create ourselves. So it wasn't outside of our understanding finally. When it first started happening, it was like, whoa, what's happening? Like, who are we now? And who do I wake up as the next morning kind of thing? But now we're in the creational stage of creating who we want to become. And that's kind of exciting to me. So one of the things that's happened is I've let go of the need to define myself. I'm kind of on an adventure of discovery, of creation, and can become anything, really. And I think that's so exciting to be able to do that. So whereas some people would say like it's a lack of identity or a lack of selfness, for me it's it's the limitless possibility of creation. And that feels completely different to me, and quite exciting, actually. And I will say that some of the things that come along with that is a kind of calmness in oneself. And most definitely what I call super genius flow. I mean, books just pour through me. I've written 20 books now, and it takes me maybe a couple of weeks to write one now. They just pour through me. That's another part of the benefit of all this is there's nothing that's sticky. Whereas a human being, I had a lot of sticky, a lot of things about me that I wasn't certain about, or that I wanted to change, or wanted to improve, or wanted to hang on to, etc. But all that's gone for me now, and I'm like an open door to the possibility of what I might become. So that's exciting to me. Big change.
Yeah, really exciting. And I love the way you talked about being sticky. It's
Yeah.
another word for actually being detached even with your identity for becoming limitless.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know when you start becoming limitless and when you start getting more and more of your higher self, more different aspect of yourself because it's a different energy
Yeah.
across lifetimes, and you are getting more and more and embodying that. What happens to the essence of your being? Because we all have certain essence which is core to our being, like certain quality or like the way, as an essence is something that stays the same irrespective of whatever changes, the circumstances, everything around you may
Yeah.
change, but your essence may remain the same. So, for example, I am thirsty for knowledge all the time. And
Yeah.
whether it is through reading, through experimenting, through watching something, or just being in that state where it like the knowingness comes. So this
Yeah.
is my essence. So similarly, each individual has a different essence to their
Yeah.
being. So when they
Yeah.
start embodying more and more higher self and more source, and you said that you let go of the identity and every
Yeah.
morning you wake up and wonder now what is coming up. So what
Yeah.
happens to the essence in that case?
If I'm talking about Centauri, it's a different conversation. I don't know that anybody else is doing what we're doing. Maybe, but I hope so because it's fun. But I think for the average, for most people, I think the essence would stay consistent. In myself, what's happened with it, because I've kind of let go of the self. So, but what's still there in me that I think the people I knew as a kid growing up in Canada, for example, would still recognize me. And I'm okay with that. It's like, it kind of gives me a kind of joy that there's a kind of friendship and recognition still after all those years. And I think they might say, "Oh yeah, that you're still you." But that would make me smile because, because there's no way that's still who I am. But I'm okay with that. And the other thing about that in myself is that I can use the essence of me as a part of my creation. So I talk to a lot of people about as they go into the next phases of becoming who they are as beings, that they can stylize or design how they want to show up in the world. Because a lot of people think, oh, you either have to fit an archetype or you have to be like you've always been, or you have certain rules that you can and can't do. And I say to people, well, no, you can design yourself to show up any way you want to show up. So for me, there was a point where in my mid-adult life where I was very serious and significant. In fact, I did a course once where they labeled me as the dark cloud. I can believe that.
Oh, wow.
and and now I'm just full of laughter. Like laughter and a kind of radiant joy is a part of me, and it's a part of what I'm bringing to the world. And that's by design, by my own choice, by creation. I've gone from being the dark cloud to that, And I think that we can do that for ourselves. But I do think in most people, the essence is there. So when I'm connecting with people, like in a coaching session, for example, I can connect with that essence as a way of knowing the true them. And I think that's a beautiful thing, And then I can connect with the greater being, whether it's embodied or not, as also a part of the true them. And then it's how you bring those two pieces together to show up in life in some way, you know? And I think that's the game we're at, is how do we bring the essence or the soul or the imprint from source when we were originally created, in our journey through all of time and all of that, how do we, the greater knowledge of us, the greater wisdom, the greater being, how do we fuse those together and give it a living presence? Because that's what wasn't available 30 years ago, primarily. The ability to live in that greater presence as a living template of ourselves. It was all, we went there, we went to the past, but now it's about being right here and living as it. And how do we design that for ourselves in a way that works for us? And I think that requires innovation with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have been on a surge of creation. And so far I heard you talk about design yourself and your life and create, and you have written 20 books, and you are in that flow state and creating. So how can people get into that surge of creation?
Oh, good question. I call it a super genius flow state. So I'm going to give you a series of steps towards it. So one is, people have to be what I call wild open. So you have to get connected with the universe of genius. It exists there and it exists in here. It's, again, that inner and outer thing, right? But we can't get it if we're like this, if we're protective of ourselves in some way. But it's not being vulnerable either. It's like wildly open, like soaking in the sunshine and breathing in nature and loving life and being breathtaking by the beauty of the world and people and that kind of thing. It's a wild open state. So that's the first thing, is the wild open state. I think the second thing is to say yes to your own greatness. And that's kind of like, we all have purposes, and I'm going to say plural purposes, because I think at one point the world kind of thought, oh, you have a destiny and that's it. You have to fulfill that destiny. When you're done, you're done. And what I've learned is, oh no, I can take a purpose this week and fulfill it, and then I'll get another one next week, and then I'll fulfill that, and then I get another one a month from now, and it's like, it's like we've become the creators or the source of our own creations, our own choices in this matter. So you say yes to your own greatness, and then it's almost like, this sounds funny, but it's almost like the universe goes, okay, there, here we go. Let's send good stuff that person's way, that being's way. And so what happens is, the next stage for me was saying yes to the universe and yes to genius. Like, yes, I'm up for that. I don't know what it'll look like, but I'm open. And so you open to the universal genius flow that streams towards you. So when I write books, like I've written, I think 15 kind of breakthrough topics, like Unleash Your Genius and Transformation and Transcendent Alchemy and The Alchemical Coach, stuff like that. But I've also written 5, they're not long novels, I would call them novellas, they're kind of fictional type things. And when I'm writing those kind of things, I have no idea what's it's not quite like channeling, where when I was channeling, I used to get out of the way and something else would take over. No, it's kind of me and it in a combo creation. But I put my hands on the keyboard and I'm just as stunned to watch what unfolds as, readers might be. It's like and maybe I've created it already somewhere. That's a possibility. Or the universe has created it and said, hey, she's a good one to send it to. But when it sends it to me, I get to bring my flavor to it. So if someone else was sent the same thing, it would come out different. might have similar tone and possibilities and purpose, but it would come out different through us because of that uniqueness that we are, which you would call essence. But we're all unique in some way, which I think is extraordinary. So yeah, so those would be my steps.
Yeah, beautiful. So essentially, be open first, wide open, and then accept your greatness, and then say yes to the genius flow that flows
Yeah.
within you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Make a relationship with the universe, if
Yeah.
that's what you want to do, or with the divine, or with source, or with the earth, or with oceans, whatever is yours or ours to do. It's all about relationship and
Yeah,
partnership.
true. That's
Yeah.
what my son also says. That
Yeah.
out in the nature, and actually, because there is consciousness in everything, so make a relationship with the ocean, with the trees and the mountains. And
Yeah.
so I remember,
Whatever is yours to do, is that the relationship is key to the whole thing. And I think you just got to connect and say yes and be open to it, and let it come through us.
yeah. You mentioned some time back that maybe it was created somewhere already, and that is my experience, that all that happens here is simply the manifestation of what is created in the higher realm, in some other
Yeah.
dimension. And
Yeah.
there is a story actually of Michael Jackson. It's a funny story. He called his producer or manager at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he said he has to record a song. And he said, "It's 3 a.m. Why do you want to do it now?" He said that if I don't do it now, God will send it to somebody else, like Prince or Queen or something. And I just
Exactly.
remember
Yeah.
that this is happening. As I understand, this is happening more and more. That earlier there used to be like chosen ones who would receive that, but
Yeah.
now it's like there's so much of surge that it's being thrown, and then whoever catches that and kind of channels
Yeah.
through or flows through is happening. But
Yeah.
I do get this thing from many people. I hear this, that there are so many blocks that they have. There is a writer's block, and then there is creativity block. So how can you deal with that?
Well, it's interesting because I'm just playing that at the moment. So I wrote the Genius Game book in 2012 and did all kinds of genius workshops and conferences and stuff. But I'm just trying to rewrite it because I was just looking at it, and one of the things I just, because I'm rewriting it, and I said, so what'll come up when you go to let your inner genius emerge? Because we all have inside of us uniqueness, genius, mastery, superpowers. It exists in every single person, and it's different in every single person. It's unique. So I said, the moment you go to bring that up, what will happen is you'll think of who me, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, I'm not good at that, I shouldn't be doing this. But those are untrue and old thoughts. And people give them far too much credence. it's like some broken record. Because when I was in my 20s, I did a creative writers course, and it was so terrible as an experience for me that I vowed I'd never write again. And here I am now, having written 20 books. And it's so easy, it's so effortless. I just had to get out of my own way. Now, not everybody's going to be a writer. Some people are more naturally painters, dancers, singers, poets, sewers, designers, engineers, whatever. Whatever is naturally in us, in that essence that you're talking about. It's so unique. There is not another one like us anywhere. And I think that's extraordinary. And so that uniqueness has such gifts inside of it that want to be contributed to the world and to the universe. And I just don't think anything should hold us back. So I'm kind of like, oh, phooey, throw those thoughts away. Like people give too much credence to this block stuff and issue stuff. Like I actually think it's got way too much, weight to it. It doesn't deserve it. It's just a thought. It's not a true thing, really. And I think when people realize that what's inside them is so beautiful, just amazingly beautiful and unique. And, our education system is designed mostly especially in Western world, like to same everybody up. Where instead of like unleash this brilliance, this unique talent that's inside every single one of us. And it's kind of something I care a lot about, that gets expressed through people, and that when they do get to embody their greater being and fulfill their purposes, that they do it, they design, they create how they want to do that from their uniqueness. I think that's important.
Yeah, so true. And even I'm very passionate about revamping the education system. That's why I'm doing PhD in education psychology.
Yeah.
But at times, what happens is when you sit for writing, for example, and nothing comes, then in that case, even if you sit there as a discipline, and if nothing is coming through, because you talked a lot about the genius flow channeling through you.
Yeah.
But if nothing is coming through, then how does one connect with the consciousness, the higher being or the
Good one.
source properly and effortlessly get out of our own way and let that thing flow? Or how can we do that?
Oh, great question. Never, ever, ever, to anybody who wants to, let's talk about writing as a way or painting or anything, never sit down and force yourself to do it. Ever. It's the wrong thing. I don't, if there's nothing to write, there's nothing to write. The universe doesn't want me to do anything today, so I go shopping. That's how I deal with it. It's like, but when it's there, oh my God, it just takes you over. It just, and so you can call what wants to be written. That's what I would say. Now, often, like at the moment, I'm kind of like, I don't know, there's nothing new that wants to write through me at the moment. So, okay, I'll go re-edit the Genius Game book and have some fun with it. So I'm just playing with it to see how it turns out. I'm not attached to it at all, but I love bringing new stuff through. I just love it. And so I'm kind of like, okay, bring it on. Are you ready? What's next? Bring it to me and I'll flow it through. And that's fun. That's exciting. What I don't like to see is like people who are doing writing courses, like you do this, then you do this, then you spend 15 minutes a day or half an hour a day, or every day you do this extra. Like, oh, phooey, that's just way too heavy. It's not about that. Genius flow comes sparking at you out of the universe, literally. It's a flow that comes into you. Either it comes this way or it comes this way or whatever, but it comes into you. And then you take your unique flavor and you kind of mush it up and let it flow through in your style. That's how I see it working. And if it's not there, it's not there. So you don't write anything that day. That's okay. I don't believe in writer's block. I just think there's nothing ready to come through. And when it is, it will. Kind of thing. So I just say to people, go have a good time. Keep calling it to you if that's what you want to do.
Interesting. You just mentioned that it comes this way or it comes this way.
Yeah.
So, what is the process? Is there any actual energetic flow that you sense of this genius flow? Is it at the energy level that you feel it in your body? And is it
Yes.
like an automatic writing? Do you actually write with your hand or do you type it? Or can you describe the
type.
process?
Yeah, I type. Yeah. Not everybody would do it that way. But I know it's like something's coming to me and through me. And like I said, this flavor, this unique flavor comes into it, and then it comes out through my fingers, and I watch it appear on the screen in front of me. You know, like I did one book. It just, I wake up in the morning or I'm in the shower and something goes, pa-ching, like the idea comes. And so this idea came, Remaking Revelations was the name of it. And I thought, Remaking Revelations, because Revelations in the Bible is kind of heavy duty stuff. Like it's kind of doom and gloom stuff, you know?
True,
And I
true.
thought, oh, okay, I'll write Remaking Revelations. And what was really interesting, I did it about 2 years ago, I think. And it 2 years ago, I was writing about from 2025 up until 2035, there were 10 revelations that happened. So it was a fictional account. But when I look at them, and I've just been sharing them chapter by chapter on my timeline and in my Substack account, and I realize that each one is kind of showing up, not quite in the way I'm telling it, but it's there. Like one of the revelations was all the animals in the world came and sat quietly around all the cities and just sat there and beamed love at humans. And I think, oh, well, you're kind of seeing that these days. You see, not like they're sitting around cities in big circles, but you're seeing a connection between humans and animals that I didn't see 30 years ago. That's really quite lovely. Like there's an intelligence in the animals that's even more so than before. And another one was one of the other revelations was this giant wave came up everywhere around the world and stopped as a wave, and the dolphins were leaping through the waves, and the waves imprinted a message like through the waves to humans. And here's Veda Austin doing communication from water. And I'm like, whoa, it's a little bit, kind of giving you a kind of almost prediction, but in a science fiction fantasy kind of way. And so I'm having fun watching it kind of unfold in the world in some way. That's really cool. So yeah, so that was fun. I love doing stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Animals connection that I have observed recently. I could communicate telepathically with cat, my parents' cat, and he actually listened, and he followed the instructions. So even I am surprised by that. Can you talk a little bit about this communication from water? Is it like?
Are you familiar with Veda Austin's work?
No.
Oh, well, let me just tell you, because this is really fascinating. She kind of took it on from the guy, Matsumoto, whatever his name was. I can't remember, who did the water stuff, where you put
the Japanese scientist.
The name on the water, and the water forms different crystals, right? But she's taken a step further, where she loves the sacredness of water. So she creates a petri dish of water, and she asks a question, and then she freezes the water, and the ice forms the answer in an image to her. So here's the story, and this involves someone from India. So she's in New Zealand, and she had a friend in India, and she wanted to do a telepathic cross-world exercise with the water. So she had the petri dish here with the water in it, and she asked her friend in India to send a telepathic message to the water, but don't tell her what it was. So the friend sent it over. She put the water in freezing and brought it out, and then said to the friend, "What did you send?" And she said, "Well, I've always been afraid of drowning in the Ganges River. So I pictured myself standing on a rock with the river, with my head above water." And she pulls up the petri dish, and there's the rock, the person, the head, and a line across the neck.
Wow.
From India to New Zealand to a petri dish of water. And you gotta realize, when you that story just blew my mind. I was like, wow, like that's incredible. Water is intelligent.
Yes,
What?
water is intelligent. Yes.
Like, oh my God, like that means everything is intelligent. That means we have to change the way we think about everything. And maybe it always has been, but I do believe it's enhancing even more so now than ever before. So she's written a book called Water, and she's now doing going around the world doing workshops and teaching people about this. It's pretty interesting. So it's Veda Austin, Veda, and Austin, Austin, if anybody wants to search it and
Oh,
look her up.
wow. Thank you. Thank you
That's
for sharing that.
mind-blowing.
It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just, that's so exciting to me. And I think that's one of the things that I run a group called the Murmuration of Maestros, where we do consciousness innovation work, and we bring through new possibilities and reality creation work and stuff like that. And one of the things we've been at work on is bringing what I would call source or creator intelligence present into all life. And so to me, I don't know, I can't verify that this is like true. So, but it was my experience and the experience of others that we were doing it. To me, the sense of whatever God source creator universe is, it was kind of distant and dormant in some way. Like yes, nature's beautiful. Yes, nature's miraculous. Yes, there's all that visible, tangible evidence, but the sense of really feeling that magical, miraculous presence of all life and the source of all that was quite dormant, especially for me as a young adult. I didn't have any sense of it at all. And so what's happened over the last 10 years, especially, we and other groups probably in the world, have brought that present, called it here, embodied it, lived it, put it into the earth, put it into nature, put it into the water, put it into the animals, put it into all humans, all of it. So that there is now, to me, this living, pulsing, transcendent intelligence that is a greater source intelligence, a creator intelligence that is alive in the world today. Like you can tangibly breathe it and touch it and feel it in your cells. And that's very different to something that's distant from us. Now, a lot of the people that I work with would say when they were born, they knew that they were source. They knew that source was in them. I wasn't like that. I didn't have any of that sense. I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. It just depends. But even the ones that say that was always within them, they feel it even more now today. It's been the part of their mission, you could say, to bring that present for everybody and everything. And I think that's really exciting. So my own intelligence, for example, has expanded greatly in the last 6 months. Like I don't think in here anymore. I kind of think out here. And that's so I can feel the difference of it. Like that I've always been able to expand and plug in and connect and call knowing to me. And I can still do that. And sometimes I do it just to double check myself. But it's like I have this kind of giant brain, this giant intelligence that I'm part of that knows much more than I would have learned in my life. And that kind of creator intelligence lives in us now. And I think that's making a huge difference for us all and how that's going to show up and what that's going to be like. And I think we're only just beginning to understand it, like the Veda Austin with the water piece, and animals, what we're seeing with animals at the moment, and all of that kind of thing. It's quite amazing what's happening with it. So yeah.
Yeah, true. So one of my guests had told me that about 10,000 people across the world are meant to embody the complete highest self or the source. in this
Right.
ascension. So that's what I understand.
Oh, fantastic. I know a few people like that. Yes, I would know some of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's just like mind blowing. Literally, it blows the mind because you are transcending the mind. And that's the thing I wanted to ask you next, that in your book, Transcendent Alchemy, you talked about specifically the difference between transformation versus transcendent alchemy.
Yes.
And we've heard so much about personal transformation, but the transcendent alchemy is new, and especially while we are ascending. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Transformation is the fulfillment of potential, and potential is what already exists in you, waiting there for you. It's already in you. You were born with it. It's just waiting for you to kind of step into. So it's not that difficult to do, actually. But transcendent alchemy is about sourcing and creating the brand new, never been before. So it's not what's already there waiting. It's not already known. It's a different set of possibilities. So about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I was working in the quantum area. So we'd talk about going to the quantum field, calling possibility present, and bringing that through. But that's changed in this last, let's say, 9 months. Somewhere from last August, I would say. Something really changed last August. That was August 24. Everything's come here. So it's less, it's there, or it's there, it's there, it's all right here now. So it can't like go to some quantum field where possibilities are waiting for us to bring in something new. It's like that creator intelligence that invents the brand new is part of us. So we now have the capacity to invent the brand new as ourselves, which I think is really exciting. But that, I get for most people that would take a real shift of understanding of oneself and what's possible. And I think we're just right on the cusp of beginning to understand that and beginning to make that available. So that's one of the differences. But transcendent alchemy is where the deep alchemical core is like an alchemical pulse of creation. It's like a magical thing that we have the capacity to do, and everyone, I believe, has the capacity for it. It's a kind of high emotive state. Instead of emotion, it's a high emotive state with like a pulse to it. And that pulse alters the dynamics of the air, the reality, the consciousness around us. It activates things and calls them into being, is how I would talk about it. So the transcendent part is that's the alchemical part, and the transcendent part is that it's beyond the known. It's new. It's brand new. So I put those two together, and then I did that book, Transcendent Alchemy, which is free for anybody to have a look at. You can share the links if you want later.
Yeah, we'll share the links of your books.
Yeah.
So when you talked about quantum field not being out there, but within you, and everything is within you, and you don't have to go out and access it. And you talked about chemical changes happening. So what I understand in this ascension is that our DNA is going to change from carbon-based DNA to crystalline-based DNA, and from 2-strand to 12-strand DNA. And that is the main difference, that when we are letting go of all the conditioning that we have, whether it's societal, childhood conditioning, whatever it is. So it is going to alter, the changes are going to be so deep that they are at the DNA level. And when you talked about chemical changes, and when you talked about everything within you, so how can you access that within you, and how can you first of all, get it within you, as in bring more of that energy within you, and then access it within you rather than going outside anywhere. And
Yeah.
also the chemical changes in the DNA. So can you talk this
Okay.
from a transcendence point of view?
One of the things I'll say first before I answer some of that is that I run into so many people now who get it, who are there, but don't know quite how they got there. It just kind of happened to everybody. And it's as long as we have no resistance to it or no stoppages in the way of it, then it just kind of naturally shows up in us. It's happening to everybody. I really believe that. It's not like some special few. It's like it's happening to everybody and all life forms as well. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening at the same time as we've got all the awful stuff that's happening. It's like, wow, the old reality is imploding while the new reality is bursting into beautiful presence in the world. And it's a really wild time at the moment. But how does someone do that? I guess what I'm saying is just get out of the way. You want to, instead of trying to learn stuff, like a lot of people, I'll do the next course, I'll do the next course, I'll do the next course, I'll read the next book, I got to learn things. I mean, it's good to learn. I think that's fabulous. But as long as you think you don't have access to it already, to your own unique knowing and understanding of life, then you're trying to absorb it from other people's frameworks. And like, I don't think I've done a single course in 25 years. Not like taken myself, but I have learned a lot. And how I've done that is I've brought other co-creators together, and we co-create and we discover in the adventure of co-creation brand new possibilities, brand new things. And to me, that's really exciting. So it's a different framework. It's not a learned, structured framework of you have to learn how to do this and then how to do this. And I remember once I was coaching a lady who had done a form of healing type work. And in that form of healing type work, they said that you couldn't be the source. You could only just channel the energies, but you couldn't be the source. And she was really in conflict she was struggling in herself about her healing work and her relationship with this particular type. And I said to her, have you ever done anything miraculous with people? And she said, oh, yes. I said, well, think back to when you did it. Did you follow instructions that somebody else gave you? Or did you just naturally know what to do? And she said, oh my God, I just naturally knew what to do. And I said, exactly. So, it might be good to learn different techniques just for the fun of it. But if you lock those in as there, I've got it now, and I have to do it, I have to do this step and this and that, then you're missing something really awesome that comes from you. That is your own spontaneous mastery and your own spontaneous knowledge and knowing and learning and creation that comes from you. And I think that's really important. We don't see enough of that, I don't think, in the world. So I've kind of stopped teaching, and I do experiential learning adventures now. So where I admit I can tell you how I do it, but you might do it completely different. So let's have an experience and you to discover how you do it. So I'm kind of unlocking the doors to their own self-discovery is what I like to do.
Yeah, beautiful. It's radical. Probably have to unlearn and then cognize it. Like how our ancient Indian sages, rishis, as we call them, all the Vedas, all the scriptures were cognized by them directly from the source. So they didn't learn it from somebody. They were kind of cognized.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
each of us can do that But how do you do that? So do you recommend, like you said, that you do an experiential kind of learning where you have a group of co-creators?
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't have access to such a group, let's say, hypothetically,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
does one individually do that? Like go deep in meditation? What do you suggest?
Well, what we do, I can just give you our model for it. So we're called the murmuration of maestros. So first of all, there's an acknowledgement that each person is a master in their own right. And I am not the leader. I am the host or the facilitator of it. And yes, I play a good role in that, but I'm not directing the flow. And so what we do when we get on calls once or twice a week, probably do 7 calls a month, actually, at the moment. And we share a little bit about what we're experiencing, what's going on, what's the newest new. So we can all kind of get up to date on what's shaping. And then we go, okay, let's all line up. Now, go. Do your thing. What wants to happen through us now? So I don't guide it, I don't direct it, I don't give it language, I say go. And then everybody does their magic, whatever it is, in consciousness. It's like creating a giant alchemical pot in which the new is being co-created and formed, and each one is bringing a unique aspect to that. Now, I happen to have a kind of ability to give language to that which is still forming. So I can kind of see the invisible or understand it in some way. So I will usually say, oh, this is what I see happening. And then each one will share what they saw, what they created, what they got. And then we'll say, okay, let's do it again, because it usually takes about 3 goes to bring it through into fruition, into, oh, that's what we're doing, where we can really understand the co-creation finally. And what we discover, I call it collaborative genius fusion. So there's not like, okay, that one's got it right. No, this one isn't. No, we'll just use this one. No, it's everybody inputs and it all merges together and it fuses and it quantum creates something brand new that's beyond what anybody would probably think of. And so we do a lot of that. And we bring through brand new consciousness, brand new ideas, brand new concepts. And then we go live them. And that's important. We create living templates in ourselves of what we've just done. And then the next time we share about how that's going. So that's our model for co-creating breakthroughs for the world. And we love it. It's a really great group. They're just wonderful. And, it's fabulous to play like that together and to just keep reminding everybody that they are masterful. They are geniuses. They are unique. And we just don't have to all be the same and do it the same way.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And we talked about consciously designing and redesigning and creating. And in your latest book, Consciously Redesigning the Future of
Global
Humanity.
civilization.
Yeah, global civilization. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that, you talked about significant changes happening 2025 onwards. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not predictive so much. Like in a way, it's more like what I know is that one, there's this newly emerging in us and in everything, creative intelligence. And then there's the super connectedness with the collectiveness of us now, oceans and animals and mycelium and trees and humans and sky and clouds and nature. And, we're forming into a kind of super collective now, which is just amazing to me. I actually walk more now as a collective field than an individual me field. And I think that's extraordinary to be able to do that. So those are 2 of the things. But I also think our ability, like one of the challenges has been in the past for humans, our emotional reaction state. And I went to work on that years ago, probably 20 plus years ago, where I was talking about emotion as potential rising instead of emotion as reaction. So you get angry, it's because there's a deep passion, purpose rising in you that wants to get expressed. When you understand that, you go straight to the purpose instead of the rage, you know. But it's changed into a potent alchemical response. I was talking earlier about high emotive alchemy. And so you use the pulse that we used to think was reaction. Instead, you get into this flow state and this understanding of things, and it becomes an emotive creative act that you're doing for greater purpose for the world, which is a very different thing to an emotional reaction. And so, I mean, I can only think of one example, maybe two, in the last 10 years where I've had any kind of a reaction to anything. And even then, I was like, I could feel it coming. I remember I was sitting with two friends and I could feel it coming and said, I'm about to have a reaction. Prepare. But then we sat down and talked it through until we understood its purpose and what it was meant for all of us. So that was interesting. You know, even my response to reaction is different than it used to be, which is kind of wonderful in a way, you know, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges humans have is emotional reaction to things. And this new state of being changes all of that. From intelligence to emotion to connectedness to the genius flow to the embodied beingness to the understanding that we are greater than just small people with problems to solve.
So you also have talked about geniuses being born as ADHD or autistic kids, and some other very radical changes that are happening. So can you touch a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been talking about this since the early 2000s, actually. But their brains are wired differently than us, and hallelujah. And I think sometimes that's difficult because at some extreme versions it has real challenges socially and energetically attached to it. But when you really get to the heart of it, to the root of it, they are demonstrating a new kind of genius and a new kind of intelligence. And when you understand that, it's adaptable in genius ways that it's just brilliant. And I'm not saying there aren't some real challenges to some. Yes, there are. But when you orient to its genius, their geniuses, then it changes everything. I have a very good friend in Australia. This is her specialty. She's a PhD in education, and her specialty is autism and ADHD. And she works with some of the most challenging kids who don't have communication skills, who have like anger expression, or it looks that way. And the work she's done with them is just breathtaking, to where she's someone who can sit with them and get through and bring their genius out. It's amazing to watch. Yeah. So I think they're the new version of us, you know, and we've got a lot to learn from them, actually.
Yeah, true. Because what I understand is the new souls who are coming to Earth are actually more evolved souls coming here for their
Yeah, I
ascension.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you talked about the education system also, so new ways of learning, and you are also doing some experiential learning yourself at this age. But overall, education, what do you think? Where is it going, and how are the ways of learning going to change?
Well, it's interesting because this week I follow a guy on Facebook called Simon Squibb, and he sold his ad agency for a lot of money, but he didn't really care about being a millionaire. So he's written a book called What's Your Dream? And he walks around in the UK with a mic and somebody's videoing him, and he goes up to people and says, "What's your dream? How can I help you achieve that?" It's wonderful what he's doing. So I popped a message into his Facebook this week, and I said, what if, because he talks a lot about how the education system, Western especially, is just not designed to let people thrive in life. You could be successful, you go to university, you get debt, you get buy a house, you get debt, you you get stuck in a job. And he's like, no, quit your job, go be an entrepreneur, and let's teach kids about entrepreneurs. So I suggested to him that maybe what would be great is something called the dream stream. And so whether it's inside the education system or outside the school system, that you take kids and say, what do you want to do? What's your big dream? And then you help them find ways to fulfill that dream. Like innovative ways, creative ways, exciting ways, fun things that they can do. These kids can do amazing things, really. And I think it's just a whole different way to come at it. And it's like, instead of everybody's got to learn the same and do the tests and get marked by it, everybody's unique and has dreams and contribution to make, and how can we help you fulfill that? I think that's more what's coming now, is that kind of thing. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely required. And some of the experiments were done over here by Paramahansa Yogananda and Rabindranath Tagore in different kind of learning as such, but it is not done on a so large global scale as yet, and it is very much required now. One other thing that you have talked about is DNA upgrade, and I do understand that there is right now at least a divide. Not everybody is kind of ascending, and what I understand is that some people have chosen not to ascend, and some people have chosen to ascend. So currently there are some predictions that there is going to be a split in the consciousness and the earth, that part of the earth which is going to ascend is going to be split, and part where people have chosen not to ascend are going to be in a different earth altogether. And the DNA is going to be different for different people. So one thing is, what do you understand from source perspective? What is going to happen? Because 2025 to 2032 is a crucial period for ascension. And what I have heard from many guests is that the wider gap is going to emerge now between the people who have chosen to ascend and people who have chosen not to ascend. That is one thing. And the second thing is, how do you change your DNA in that case? Like if you choose to ascend, then how do you upgrade or rewire your DNA?
Okay, well, first of all, I have a completely different view to all that. I don't believe that we will split. I do think some people are leaving the planet, but I don't think they're leaving the planet because they can't make it. When you go over to the other side right now, it's like, holy jumping, you become who you really are, and you do great work from there. But I'm at work on making sure that we don't have an old world left behind. I think I'm at work on, no, we're all going to experience this upgrade that's happening, this quantum leap that's happening. And yeah, I know it doesn't look like that with some people. I'm very aware of that, But at the same point, I am going to continue to hold the possibility that every single living being on Earth, human and others, is going to move into a new level of itself. And why do I believe that? I don't know as much about DNA. I can talk about it a little bit in a minute, but I do believe the DNA in everyone is changing. It's just happening. It's just a natural quantum state of evolution that's happening in us all. I do believe that the consciousness has become a living intelligence, of a living source intelligence. I believe that we are embodying our greater selves. We are becoming universal beings. We are global citizens. I think that that's true in a huge percentage of the world. And like I talked about, all those people who just suddenly found themselves in a new place and didn't know quite how they got there, it's because the air we breathe is full of this ascended or transcended intelligence and understanding and knowing and connection and genius flow. It's available to everyone. And so what I think part of what's happening, it's hard for me because, it's hard watching what's happening in the US right now, for example, or what's happening in Israel, Gaza, or Russia, Ukraine, and other places. It's hard to watch what's happening in the world right now. But I think it's really in our faces right now. And it's really visible. It's tangibly visible. And I think it's going to show us all that it's not what we want. It's not where we're heading. It's not where the world is going. And I'm pretty sure that we're in the shift of all ages, the becoming of something brand new for the whole world, for the whole universe, for that matter. I don't think it's just Earth. I think it's huge. And because the air is full of it, because the oceans and the water is full of intelligence, because we're so interconnected now, then I just think the more we can sit in that place of holding that space for it and sourcing what needs to happen for it, the more everyone will move there eventually. And I hope sooner than later. Now, the DNA piece, it's not my expertise exactly, but I may have talked about it in this last call. I don't know. Did I talk about a lady I know named Sharan Sardar?
No.
Okay. She has a PhD in epigenetics. And she presented at a conference in India. This would have been about 3-4 years ago, I think. And it's video on YouTube. And she presented at a neonatal conference, so, babies before they're born. And she was hired by a woman who was told at 12 weeks of pregnancy, I think it was 12 weeks, that the baby was a Down syndrome baby and would be born Down syndrome. So she hired Sharan to work with the genetics of the baby in the womb as a source genetics. And when the baby was born normal. And she can do that with people. She works with people. She can work with the source DNA. And it's almost like it's done from love. It's done from connection. It's done from source. It's done from the greater purpose, greater good, that kind of thing. She's got a real genuine authenticness in that regard. So I really respect her for it. And I haven't heard from her maybe a year and a half. So I'm not sure what she's doing at the moment. But when you realize that we can alter our own DNA, that's what she's showing. We don't have to have somebody else do it for us. If that's our inclination to enhance and increase our own DNA, then we can do that. I think that our bodies are miracle things. And what we send as messages to our bodies is what the body fulfills as miracle things. And if that's to enhance the DNA and grow more and, et cetera, then that's what we do. But I also think there's a good number of groups around the world doing this kind of work for everyone to grow into it. And one of the things that gives me great comfort these days is there was an upgrade in consciousness about maybe 4 years ago. I think it was during the COVID, actually, so maybe 2020. And I would say pre-2020, if I watched the things about animals, I could begin to see cross-species animal communication. So you'd start to see the lion laying down with the lamb and the, and the mother horse taking on a sheep baby and, stuff like that. But during 2020 and after, you're just seeing extraordinary, intelligent animal communication, connecting with humans and asking for help from humans and providing gifts to humans. And so instead of that kind of scary, nature is dangerous kind of feeling that, well, I certainly held in my young adult life, now I'm more like, oh my gosh, there's a sacred, beautiful relationship to be had with it all that changes everything. And so watching what I'm seeing now emerging from the animal kingdoms and the water intelligence and the mycelium networks and the miraculous stuff that nature is doing at the moment is incredible. To see those kind of things is just like, wow, just warms my heart and says they didn't have any resistance. Some humans have a bit of built-in resistance, but that too shall pass. That's what I think. So I think that's where we're going.
We talked a lot about connection and relationship with nature and animals and everything on Earth. But Earth is a planet in one solar system, and there are many such systems and many constellations. So when you feel the source within you is vast and infinite, are you also connecting with beings from other planets and other systems and other constellations? Because
I'm not personally, but I think other people do.
Okay.
I'm more connected with the universe. That's my thing.
Okay.
So that's how I orient to it. But others get different, Pleiadian or Turian, whatever. Whatever. We all have a unique way of accessing it, and that's how I do it. I do it through the universe.
Few days back or a few weeks back, I was guided to create some things, and I was told that I'm collapsing 2 dimensions and expanding my consciousness that way. And I talk a lot about multidimensional aspect of our being, and that's the name of my channel also. So when you talk about accessing the source within, do you know which dimension right now you are in, and do you access that multidimensional aspect of yourself within you?
I don't tend to relate to it myself personally as dimensions, but do believe they have existed. Whether they still continue to exist, I think they might be collapsing into one another. I think all the dimensions are kind of folding into one new emerging consciousness, reality, possibility, stream, etc. And I think that's happening the whole universe over. I don't think it's just Earth-based. I think it's much grander than that. So, it's kind of like a fusion of connection and creations and possibilities. And I would almost say it like this. This is just my story. It doesn't have to be the truth. So I think that dormant sense of source or godness or whatever, to me, it was like a sleeping god. It had sent out a pulse of creation originally into the universe. It was kind of sleeping and dreaming up a new possibility. It woke up and went, here. Let's create some new foundations and building blocks of life. Let's see what this dream would look like, So I think part of what I'm doing is engaging in the possibility of that new dream, whatever that is, for all life, to thrive in a different way. And it's like I said, it's a story for me to follow my own creations, but it works for me. But I wouldn't say anybody else would have to believe that necessarily. We will all have our own versions of how we orient to all of this. And I think that's a good thing.
So would you say that when we are experiencing this creative surge from the consciousness flowing through us, we are experiencing the expansion of consciousness at the individual as well as collective level?
Yes. Yeah. I think we're part of sourcing that. I think what's happening is that awakened dreamer is now embodying itself in us. And well, those who want to anyways, it might be different for different people, but and so we're learning to create inside a new possibility of life. And I think that's really exciting. And I've had people 20, 25 years ago who said to me, there's nothing new in the universe. Everything's already been created. And I was like, what? What? No. There's all kinds of new possibilities, and that's exciting to me. I particularly orient to new possibilities and new creations. I think that's amazing. And like, what will take us to the next and the next and the next and the next. And it's one of the things that I think a lot of people would think is disconcerting. Like I was just looking back at my Genius Game book that I wrote in 2012. That's like 12, 13 years ago, right? And as I started to read the first page of that, oh my God, this is so old. I can't copy and paste it into a new format. I'm going to have to rewrite this book from scratch because it's all so different now. And what I find challenging is how people can say the same thing for 25 years, because I can't say the same thing 1 week from the next. Because we're so moving so fast. Everything's changing and dynamically being created so fast at the moment that you kind of have to stay in the moment and continuously upgrade yourself and up-level yourself as into the new possibility of us. So, yeah.
Yeah, so true. So exciting.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot today. If we were to have Source give a message for our audience today, what would be that message for our audience?
Okay, just a sec while I connect with that. That whatever people consider to be Source, God, Creator, Universe, Infinite, Divine, however they want to relate to it, that it is in you now. It's in the earth, it's in the air, it's in the animals, it's in the oceans, it's in the trees. It's in our cells, it's in our DNA. It's who we are. We are a new, visible, living example of almost a new species of source being. And that source being doesn't separate itself from everything else. It has beautiful, beautiful relationships and partnerships with everything else. And I would say, but it also Source would say, to just breathe it. Breathe it in whatever way is yours to breathe. Be it in whatever way is yours to be. There is no one way. It's like, be your unique, awesome source creator self. That's what I would say the message is.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's been such a privilege and absolute pleasure to have you back here.
Oh, same here. Same here. Loved it.
Thank you so much. It's lovely. And I hope to host you again sometime because you're constantly reinventing yourself and recreating yourself. So,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you will have something else to share when we meet next time. So, till next time, thank you so much. Lovely to have you.
Thrilled to be here with you and with everybody who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.